least, and our guest is Joshua Gilmore.
Hey guys,
Josh, good morning. How you doing, brother?
hey, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for the invitation. Excited to jump in.
Well, I'm excited about a place that I had only heard of through Dr. Ken Hempill, Tigerville,
Tiger,
South Carolina. Is it
that's
South
right.
Carolina, right?
Tigerville, South Carolina. That's exactly right.
I
Yes.
wanna. I would move to South Carolina anyway. Um, Dr. Hemphill is from out there at North Greenville University, and
That's
then you and I connected, and the story that's unfolded out of the church where you're serving, Tigerville Baptist Church, is really an amazing story. So let me kick this story off by talking about talking about how did you come to know the Lord, Josh?
Yeah. So I grew up in a Christian home. I grew up in a predominantly like charismatic kind of church. It was really wild because it was very multi-ethnic. There were many Sundays where we were the only white family in the church, which was just different, I guess. And then so I got saved when I was very young, and then my first exposure really to like youth ministry and missions and Baptist life really came later. It was at North Greenville, pretty much. So I think I went to Siloam Baptist Church. They actually had a youth group when I was in high school, and then from there went to North Greenville University. And so I just had this. Parents are believers. Got saved when I was young. Really called a ministry kind of in high school at this youth event at the Baptist Church called the Pizza Blast, which kind of dates me a little bit there. Um, uh, and just God called me to ministry, changed my life, and then went to North Greenville, and I never really looked back. It was just the dominoes were falling. My initial plan was everyone has their initial plan. As you can even see from my office, my initial plan, I was an artist, a musician, and so my plan was to kind of go that direction. I was voted most artistic, in the senior superlative at Wren High School and all of that. But God radically changed directions for me when I went to this event, this Baptist event, Siloam Baptist Church, and it was really significant. I did not know what all that meant, but I knew something changed in my plans. And went to North Greenville, started studying Scripture, and started studying ministry, and it just every class was like a candy for me. I just loved it. I go, this is what I want to do. This is the best. So that's just a piece of the story.
Tell us about your family.
Oh, for sure. So my mom is a teacher. She's a speech pathologist, um, and she's retired now. And then my dad was kind of an adventurer, jack of all trades, did a lot of things. He was a fireman when I was really young. Then he was a security guy for a little bit, but he was artistic and musician and all of that. So uh, very, very different. My mom's very, very structured, very disciplined, and my dad was very free and very adventurous. So together, I kind of got the composite you see before you today.
And how
And I'm,
about
and I'm
your
one of four, one of four. So
ah?
Gabriel. So I'm a middle. So it's Holly, Hannah, Joshua, Gabriel. So two older sisters, and then one younger brother.
And tell us about your wife. And do you have three
Yes.
daughters? Is it?
That's right. And my last name is Gilmore, so the Gilmore Girls. So you're welcome. I've never actually seen one episode of that show, just for the record, but I have three girls. Olivia's 16 years old now. Adelaide is 14, and and Nora is 11. So Olivia, Adelaide, and Nora. And been married. We're June 25th, so it's coming up just here in a little bit. We'll be celebrating 20 years, my wife and I. So,
And
just
say her name again,
Nicole,
Nicole.
Nicole, and she actually teaches Spanish at North Greenville University, where I'm broadcasting from today. So I'm in my office right now this morning. Um,
Well, let me go on record saying you don't look old enough to have girls that old.
Hey, I shaved this morning just for you guys, okay? No, I think college people keep you young. I think they keep you on your toes. So, yeah, I got
Tell
married young too. I was 20. I was 21 when I got married, and I'm 41 now. Um, so I think we just graduated and just got married and just started life together. So
Josh, tell us what you do at North Greenville University.
yeah, so I'm one of the campus pastors here. I serve in campus ministry student engagement. We call it CMSE, Campus Ministry Student Engagement. North Greenville is the greatest school on the planet. No offense to all other Bible schools, but or Christian schools. It's just fantastic. My official title, though, since this is an official podcast, is I'm the Senior Director of Church and Community Relations. So I'm the one who's going out and partnering with the local churches, partnering with the missionary organizations, partnering with the Christian camps, and working with the community. So the way I view it is, if society is here and North Greenville is here, I'm the little drawbridge. I'm the guy who helps the students make that connection. So on my desk every week are always a stack of youth ministry openings, music ministry openings, Christian camp counselor openings, nonprofit, we need an accountant for whatever. I'm always working with those ministries and community response organizations so that our students can apply what they're learning. So my focus is both external to those churches, missionary organizations, camps outside the doors of the campus, but it's also internal because I'm trying to connect those students to those opportunities. Um, and I could gush for days about the needs of ministry. We had this event every year. We call it the Church Fair. And I had 101 this past church fair. 101 churches on North Greenville University's campus. I told the pastors that if you just reach 5 of our students, all pastors, all 101 churches, just reach 5 of our students, we still haven't done the work of engaging everybody. So we've got to do a lot of community engagement to get our population pastored. That's important for us. But of the 101 that registered for that event, that showed up for that event, you want to take a guess at how many had paid, that's a key word, paid staff openings, not necessarily full-time, but part-time, full-time, paid staff openings. 57. Over half of the churches in our Greenville area have paid staff openings. So if you just point to the church, you're probably right. There probably is a staff opening in this area. And that could be anything from media ministry, that's a rising need, anything from music and youth and children's. All those things are just burgeoning. The needs are growing so fast that universities like North Greenville University are precious in the Lord's sight because we need ministers. And that's not unique to Greenville. I know that's probably true in Texas, certainly in Atlanta, where you are, Kenneth. So that's a little bit of like who I am and what I've done. I've been in college ministry explicitly or adjacent for 20 years. That college people have sort of been my North Star all the way through. First started in Chicago when I graduated, got married, then moved to the Columbia area doing college ministry, then to just outside of Philadelphia in New Jersey for 2 years. In the past 7 years, I've been here at North Greenville. So, but college people, it's kind of been the consistent. I never knew which area of ministry God was going to call me into, but that just seems to be where God has lined me up these years, and I just love them. I think they're the best.
So tell us how you bridged the gap and you came to Tigerville Baptist Church and started your work there.
So that's the $1 million question. So I went to North Greenville in 2001 to 2005. So I was a student at North Greenville. Now I'm staff at North Greenville. And when I was a student there, if let's say it this way. So if the university is a rectangle, this corner right here, this corner is there's a church sitting right there. Just right, literally sitting on the corner of the campus. There's a church.
Yeah, I've been there. I've seen
Uh,
it.
and that was the North Greenville University gifted that corner piece of property to the church. I think 1948, something like that, something going way back. Anyhow, because the students at that time were having to walk almost a mile to get to the closest church, which is Tiger Baptist Church, not Tigerville, but Tiger Baptist Church. And so they said, that's not right. Let's go ahead and build something there. But flash forward to 2001, I'm just a student. There's this church sitting on our property. And I go, so I just came and visited like every student would. You know, what is this church that's right here? And there were just a handful of people there, a handful of worshipers there, very humble. And so, flash forward, 2018, I come on staff at North Greenville. And my first question is, well, how is Tigerville Baptist doing? So I did the same thing, just checked it out, just like I did in 2001. Just checked it out. Same thing, just sort of literally like time had not passed, even though 15 years had passed, you know, I mean, since that time, you know. Anyhow, I just kind of just did not have peace about that. And so I just started praying. This is 2018. I just started doing prayer walks around that building. Not because I'm superstitious or anything like that, but I could see it from my window at work, like my office window. I could see the steeple, you know. Somebody just go pray for that congregation, pray for those people, pray for revival. And that just kind of became a trend, a burden. I knew the pastors that were there. They were all interim pastors, so I knew them. As a church relations guy, I know all the pastors in the area, so I certainly knew the pastor right there on our campus. And just good men, godly men, but interim, usually older, retired, giving back. And there'd kind of been a history of that. So I promise I'm trying to summarize. I'm having a hard time to summarize. Thank you for your attention to this. But I had written on a sticky note by my computer 3 names of people that I would really want to partner with Tigerville Baptist to help them overcome whatever this 15-year funk was, you know, whatever this thing is. And it may have predated that, but it had been time capsuled from 2001 to 2018 as far as I could tell from my observation.
Right.
So anyhow, just praying through that, just had a burden for the place. It's just weird. Because I work with all these churches, but this one I had a burden for especially. And I get a call from one of the deacons at that church, at Tigerville Baptist. The deacon's no longer there. And he said, Joshua, are you familiar with a guy named Travis Agnew? And I said, yeah, I went to school with Travis. He and I graduated at North Greenville in 2005. I know Travis really well. He said, well, he's got this thing called Recommission Network, where they help churches that are struggling revitalize and grow again. Do you think we should be a part of that? This is the deacon asking me this, okay? And the deacon is kind of my touch point for the church because the interims were so volatile. You get what I'm saying? I kind of had to go with the guy who stayed put, you know? When you're doing church relations, you can't know everybody, so you have to kind of know a stable person. So I said, hang up the phone with me and call Travis and say yes to this church revitalization thing. And though that deacon's no longer there, the church did sign a church revitalization covenant with Recommission Network. And Travis is my pastor. You know, we went to school together. But we're driving, 45 minutes into Greenville to worship the good church, and Travis was one of the names that I had written down on a sticky note by my computer. I said, Lord, if there ever was a person that I'd want to help turn this church around, he'd be one of the names I'd want, to help. And so they signed the covenant. This was, it's probably closer to 3 years now. They signed a church revitalization covenant, and they started bringing in all these church revitalization people. Since you guys are acquainted with the Southern Baptist Convention, there's like church revitalization consultants and experts and those sort of people try to take assessments. So they started doing all the things, with these people to try to help them identify and just turn a corner. Well, I'm now on the mission field. This is going back to May of last year. Okay? I'm on the mission field in Panama with Travis, and we're leading like a little mission group of students and church and that sort of thing. In typical dad fashion, we're up really, really early. And so waiting for all the other youth to wake up so we can get on the bus and get going and all the rest of it, start the day. And so we were just talking and in the lobby of that hotel before the bus pulled up. And he asked me, he said, Joshua, what would you want to do, like, with our church, and what do you want to do? What are kind of some things you're aiming at? And I said, early that morning in Panama, just talking to him, I said, Travis, if given the chance to help at Tigerville, I think I would. And you can't put those words back in your mouth. Once you've said it, it's out there. He wrote that down and said, well, actually, our interim that we've put in there, like revitalization interim guy, he's actually leaving in like a little bit. And so we need to get somebody in there pretty quick. And I said, okay, well, why don't we do like a 2-month interim? He said, well, you mean 4 months, right? And I was like, well, okay. Sure, let's do 4 months, So that was in September. And so I finished the year, that interim. And we'll see if the shoe fits, we'll see what happens congregationally, community-wise, let's see what happens. And even for my family, like Nicole, my 3 girls, this is a significant change, huge change in our life. I live on campus, so like when I tell you I could drive my golf cart to church and to work, that's how close I am. Like campus pastor, legit. Like I live on campus. That is a big change. Let's try it out. Well, much to my surprise, and I could not believe it because my wife is very careful and very slow about these kind of things. She's a detail-oriented kind of person. And she said, Joshua, I think it's great. I think this is wonderful. I think this is what you do. And I'm for it. So I go, I can't believe I'm hearing this. Like I just was shocked that she was supportive, even enthusiastic about it, which was amazing. Then the other kind of kingpin was Dr. Fant. Dr. Fant's the president of the university. And I just said, Dr. Fant, make this the easiest yes or no ever. Do you want me to do it or not do it? Like, I'm 100% all in at North Greenville. I'm for this school. I feel called to this school. But do you think I should help this church, And he said, yeah, I think you should. I think it's a good thing. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was like, kingpin number 1, Nicole, my wife, she's like, yeah, for sure. Kingpin number 2, my boss. He's like, yes, I think this is good. You should do this thing. So then the last is kind of my advisor. Some of you guys know Don Wilton, formerly at First Baptist Spartanburg, and he's been my mentor for the past, I guess, 6 years now. Just my dear friend, mentor, and he speaks very straight. You never need to guess what Don thinks on an issue. He knows how he feels and what he believes. And so I just called Don, I shared the story, and he just said, do it. Like, do it with all your heart. Serve the Lord with gladness, minister to the people, reach the lost, baptize. And coming from him, he knows me, and it just was unreal. So there's a lot there in this interim time, this 4-month interim. A lot of conversations were being had. A lot of, I don't know. I read your book, so I read everything I could possibly read on the subject. Everybody basically who writes books on the subject tries to talk you out of it. Like, don't do this thing. It's not really for the faint at heart. It's not going to be easy. So I was like, I would not call the books really encouraging. I would call them pretty sobering, actually, But even as I was working through that, this is the question that got me there. How can I live with myself as the church relations guy at North Greenville University? And when given the opportunity to help a church literally in our parking lot, and I just don't.
Yeah.
Like, how can I live with myself and when given opportunity to try to help, that I just don't do it? And so I just said yes to the Lord. I said, God, I will give it my very best. We'll commit to this thing. And so December came. A decision had to be made. Should I stay or should I go? And I said, let's just go for it. Let's just go. Let's just go. So that is me attempting to summarize. It is a very, very long journey.
So did you did you start there in September or December?
So I started as an interim church revitalization pastor in September.
Tell us about the condition of the church when you got there.
Yeah, because some work had already been done. So you show up on the scene. What does it look like?
Yeah, so the week that I just observed, there were 25 people total. That's counting us, counting the Gilmore 5. Okay, so 25. The church comfortably seats probably 300. So it just felt like a few beans rattling around in a big can. It's not. I mean, just it felt like a home church meeting inside of a church building. That's what it felt like. So the assembly was like, oh, you've got announcements this week. Like, literally just in the room, people are just talking. Oh, you can do special music, okay, who's going to do, like, it's like you're in somebody's house and someone's like, oh, you play guitar. Oh, you go and give like, that's the way it felt. But picture that inside of a building with stained glass, a steeple, all of that. So unusual is probably the word I would use, but nice. It was not. I felt very welcomed. I mean, obviously anybody who's a visitor would be identified straight away. But prior even to the church revitalization stuff, there were around 10 to 15 people. So right now, at the present, we have 12 members. So just, you can kind of get the scale of the size of this thing. So that's what I walked into. 25 the week I observed, but really prior to that, it was 10 to 15 people before church revitalization kind of had stepped in and started bringing some consistency and continuity in the messages. And then as of yesterday, this past Sunday, we had 52, which was great. So this is from September to present. We've been averaging around 50 people.
Now you had over 200 people at your installation
I
service.
know. I know. Crazy.
I think that's great for this reason. Yeah, it's not a realistic number as far as averages, but things like that help momentum.
Mm-hmm.
They momentum and excitement, saying this is real, this is something we're sticking to, and that was exciting. I saw those pictures on Facebook. I was like, look at this. God is doing this.
Yeah, it blew our expectation. One of the books I read was you need to aim for 100 people within 100 days. I can't remember who wrote the book, but it was just the goal, you know. And I even threw it out there, but I'm not real big on numbers. Like I keep the numbers because I see the value in the people. Like I care about the people, and I value data as a researcher too. But it's not my natural disposition. I'm more of a people person. So I put that out there before the people, and I think our highest number before the installation was 77. But how we got there, listen to this, guys. How we got there wasn't through putting it out there like we're going to work really hard and get 100 people in 100 days. It was through the hurricane. It was insane. So we had this hurricane that came through, western, South Carolina and kind of western North Carolina, Helene, am I getting it right? I may be missing the name here, but the hurricane came through. It flooded everything, Asheville, all of this stuff. So when I tell you the whole upstate shut down, it really did. My basement was flooded. I had this much water, in our basement. It was crazy. All the electricity was out. The cell phone service was very limited. And so I said, I guess we'll have to cancel church. I guess. I mean, all the roads, there was debris everywhere, trees blown down and everything. And Nicole said, we're not canceling church. Like, well, that's just silly. Well, of course we'll do church. I go, yeah, you're right. Well, let's just do church. I said, there's no electricity at the church, but we got stained glass. It's okay. We'll do it anyway. So we put on the church sign, electricity or no electricity, church 1045. So we put that on the church sign. It's an old school sign, just like you guys see. Well, because all of the other churches in the neighborhood were shut down and everything was blocked, we were the only guy open, and so it was crazy. That was our highest attended Sunday. We had 77 people, and it had nothing to do with strategy, really. It had to do with a determination to just do it anyway. And I almost didn't do it, and if it wasn't for Nicole, I would have canceled because that was the sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
Nobody had showered in days, there was like emergency, like food help at the university where it had generators hooked up and stuff, so it was just bananas, and it was a really sweet time. It was open air preaching like I'm in the mission field, just told them to sit close, and it was sweet, man.
So Josh, did I hear you say that you're attributing much of the revitalization focus on your relating to people?
Oh, man.
That's created a relational hub and excitement?
Yeah, so the people who largely have come, it's people I already know. They're already people I'm in relationship with. And I'm trying my best to model that and give that model away to the people of Tigerville. Those 12 members, like they know people too. And but I wanted to model that. So they said, who should I invite? And I'm like, everyone you know. Literally everyone. They don't have to stay with us forever, but to help us kind of overcome this whatever this is, this thing that says, we have to be small and inward focused. God rescue us from self-preoccupation. Just invite people, encourage people to be a part, And maybe God will place upon some of their hearts to help us in church revitalization. And some, it's not fast, but over time, some have said, you know what, Joshua, I think I do want to help. And I'm like, great, let's go. Let's get after this thing. So I think the relationships are right in front of us. People we already know, or the people immediately in our path that we're engaging with, and maybe we hadn't put a whole lot of thought to it, but just say, hey, would you consider coming 10:45 this Sunday? And just making that a part of my worship, and really making that a model, hopefully, that others can follow. So to the pastor installation where we had 225, which was crazy, you know. So get this, I think we had 41 the week before the installation, then 225, then then 61, and then last week 52.
That's great,
So-
though, man, because that shows those people that
Yeah,
more people can show up to keep it out of
yeah,
how
yeah.
many
So,
are coming.
and the people who came, like, I'm not really seeing the pastor installation written in any of the books as like a plan or a theory or whatever. I just knew that people like to be invited to baptisms, baby dedications, those kind of things that have a special element to a service. They like that. I don't know why. I don't know why we're wired that way. Probably there's significance in the invite, but I just said, let's use this pastor installation as an opportunity to invite people to be a part, or bare minimum, pray for us.
That's good.
And man, people attached to it like it was a wedding.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Like, they're like, I wouldn't miss it for anything. Thank you so much for inviting me. What a treat. Man, I've been praying for that church for years. I'm so glad to see. So I was like, wow. That kind of support is humbling. It's knee-knocking. I had so much emotion that morning. I didn't even know how to process what was happening, because so many people believing in you actually creates a new weight. You're like, oh no, I've really got to do this thing now, because my whole world has come to support me in this thing. So yeah.
Let me ask you something. I've got to land the plane on this podcast.
Yeah.
What are 1, 2, 3 things that our listeners that we can all pray for you about? Give us a short prayer list.
Man, so I am praying that God will give us 100 members. So if you will pray for that, 100 members. We have 12 right now, and then again, we're averaging around 50. Most of them are college people, so you have to understand the issue with our relationship being at the university.
Yeah.
And listen, well, for sure, minister to college people. We baptized 3 college people since I've started. That's a ministry. But I'm talking about 100 people from the community, rocks that don't roll. Like, they're here. They're part of this town. Just pray that God will send us 100 members from the community. That will radically change everything. That will just be a massive shift in everything.
We will help mobilize people on that prayer request for sure.
Come on,
That's
please
exciting
do
to
it.
pray for.
Yeah,
What
keep
else?
praying.
Is there something else you can think of?
Immediate needs. Oh yeah, for sure.
We got about 2 minutes.
Okay, so for sure, pray that God send us a children's coordinator. I've watched families come in and say, we love you, this was so exciting, but we don't have a children's ministry. And so the children are yelling and screaming in the sanctuary, and I love it. I'm used to college ministry, but for us, like, we need a children's coordinator, someone to help. I think we've got the volunteers. College people will sign up in a rotation to serve, but I need that leader. Who's going to background check them and put them in the rotation, call them the night before, do that sort of stuff. And then thirdly, music. I have a college band. They're leaving for summer break. I'll be without a musician. So it's a big deal to get somebody who's, again, a rock that doesn't roll. So
we're going to pray for those.
Pray for those 3 things. Please.
And you'll see those in social media from us. And Josh, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and telling the story of Tigerville Baptist Church.
Thank you, Alan.
We're doing this because Tigerville Baptist Church is representative of what our heart is for churches and for what is possible with the Lord. So I can't
Yeah.
thank you enough for coming on. We're out of time here today. I feel like we need to go another hour, but we can't. But
Yeah.
thanks for coming on. We love you. We're praying for you. Kenneth, I'll see you next week, and God bless everybody.
Thanks, gentlemen. Love y'all.